It is 16 degrees Fahrenheit out here, as you can tell by the completely frozen over pond behind me. Despite that, I'm out here to read to you an email of dire importance I received last night while I slept. Kevin, that's me if you're new to this channel. I hold PhDs in world history, American history, religious studies, and pop culture. I have held top secret security clearances and have done research for all of what we'll call the alphabet soup gangs, though I am now retired. Despite my education, qualifications, and experiences, I do not nor will I ever have any sort of social media presence. At least as far as my own YouTube channel or Facebook page goes. Why, you might ask? Simple. I know too much. Rather, to get my messages out, I scour social media platforms for people like you. Folks who actually have views based upon vast, real-world experiences rather than opinions based upon what they see and hear on legacy media outlets or what they've read in books, journals, magazines, or newspapers. I disclose my findings only with those like yourself, who I deem to be completely unbiased, without agenda, and incorruptible. I've been leaning towards sharing what I'm about to share with you for some time. And when you made a recent video in which you shared with the world information that you'd been forced to hide by way of signing an NDA to keep secret, I knew you were my man. With all this said, I want to explain to you, based upon my actual experiences, what I've seen come to fruition in the past, and basically what my gut feelings are screaming at me, exactly what I feel all this drone nonsense that's got the masses questioning everything they thought they ever knew is all about. First, I will start with a quote from Abraham Lincoln, because it's so fitting for the times in which we live. That quote being, "America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves." Since Christmas is upon us at this time, let's talk about the reason for the season. Is it Jesus Christ? Nay. Taxation. The Holy Bible calls for taxation and tithing, but only what is to be considered a fair amount of one's earnings or wealth. The Old Testament states a flat rate of 10% for all. Joseph's trek to Bethlehem, from a historically and factually provable point of view, was to pay taxes to Caesar Augustus. We hear that Joseph was but a humble carpenter. This is true, but humble by no means poor. Joseph, in fact, was a wealthy landowner, and like many wealthy landowners around you in Central Virginia farm country, you really need to be a little more withholding in regard to your personal information shared on social media. True. Joseph was income deficient, meaning that though he had a high net worth, he struggled with cash flow to the degree that when it was time to pay his taxes to Caesar Augustus, he couldn't even afford an emissary to take the trip and pay the taxes for him. So, despite the fact that his wife was pregnant and close to her due date, he took his wife and made the journey to pay his taxes himself. Jesus was born in a manger, not because, and again, this is historically and factually provable, Joseph and Mary were out-of-towners or foreigners or of another race or creed, but because there was a housing shortage in Bethlehem. You see, the real estate market prices and interest rates at the time were not unlike they are today in modern America. It was either sleep in a barn or sleep in the street. Now, with this said, we must look at history and understand that whether it was the great Roman Empire or the great ancient civilizations of Greece, ancient China, or that of the Incas or Aztecs, any time that any society's tax rates went above 25%, those civilizations began to crumble. Why? Because such high tax rates stifle ambition. Who wants to work hard in an effort to take care of themselves and their families, only to have to turn over an unreasonable amount of their hard-earned money to their governments, to do as they will, despite the consideration or even the best interests of the people from whom they acquire these taxes? People begin to work less. They begin to work in a shoddy manner. society sees the quality of their goods and products and services rendered deteriorate. As such, great societies see the beginning of their end. Kevin, I cannot state this emphatically enough to both you and all of your viewers who, by reading through their comments, I wholeheartedly believe are as awakened, not to be confused with that woke nonsense, as you are. That is exactly where America stands at this very moment in time. Comes now the attack of the drones. And yes, I chose that word attack precisely because it is the word most fitting for what I believe, again, through more than half a century of real-life experiences we are about to see. As of now, no one can say with certainty what these things really are. Some claim they are plasmic orbs from another dimension. Others claim they are spaceships manned by aliens from other worlds. Others still claim they are military aircraft, perhaps from other countries or even our own. And some even believe that these aircraft, be they military or otherworldly or interdimensional, are spraying us with chemicals to make us sick. What's the truth? As of now, no one among the general populace knows, but it certainly doesn't help that those in charge, the bosses of us, our government, is mum. Saying nothing, some of them even going as far as to deny the issue. Yet, they still take our taxes. Let's look back at one particular incident in history. A radio broadcast from October of 1938. War of the Worlds, broadcast by Orson Welles, the original piece of literature written by H.G. Wells, the godfather of science fiction. And though both men shared their surname, they were of no relation. During the radio broadcast, in which the general public was not aware that it was all an act of fiction, though they were told before the preceding commercial break, but clearly the announcement went over their heads, people panicked. People came out of their homes with firearms and shot at water towers that they believed to be giant alien robots. Many people tried to flee, their cars careening off the road at times, causing automobile accidents. Some people, out of sheer panic, even chose to take their own lives. There were 4 unconfirmed deaths, but again, these deaths were never confirmed by the powers that be. Oh no. They claim there were no lives lost, but again, as a pop culture and American historian, among other things, I know this is not true. Some say this was a social experiment funded by John D. Rockefeller, an experiment to determine how people would react to a catastrophe of epic proportions, and the findings show that the masses would panic and pose more harm to themselves than the actual threat they faced. The powers that be thus decided that what people do know will hurt them, so it's best, they decided at times, that people not be allowed to know. This is why it is conceivable to believe that we knew about the upcoming attack on Pearl Harbor before the attack, as well as the attacks of 9/11, and this is why it's conceivable to believe that our enslavement masters, the ones pulling the strings with their laws and taxation ability, and with the keys to the locks on our chains, debt, can easily control us through fear. And it is all done to keep our noses to the grind, slaves of the soul trap, never questioning authority and never making any honest attempts to escape. So, this brings us back to the drones. What gives? Is this current drone situation being used to cause mass panic among the masses so that, say, there cannot be a peaceful transition of power on our upcoming Inauguration Day? Could it be to cause such a level of fear and panic among the masses that our enslavement masters must impose martial law, thus denying even the first effort or attempt of the transfer of power on our upcoming Inauguration Day in the first place? Smarter men than me, and smarter women included, do not have the answers to these questions. But someone does. Who is that someone? And why do they remain silent, saying nothing during all of this? You play the fool a lot on your YouTube channel, Kevin. You make an effort to come across as naive. You may be fooling some, but you've not fooled me once since I began watching you. It's why I've shared this information with you, Kevin, and it's my hope that you'll share it with your viewers because, like you, I believe they'll be able to read between the lines and figure out exactly what is going on. Merry Christmas to you and yours, and may you also have the happiest of New Years. I believe that if we can make it to the 20th of January of the upcoming New Year, Inauguration Day will be fine. Until then, buckle up. It might very well be a very bumpy ride. See you for more next time.